and welcome to my channel, Inspiring Life Changes. Welcome to those of you who have been here before and are back. Thank you very much for pressing play to come and see what I'm doing. And to those of you who haven't been here before and this is your first time, this is my channel, Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and I'm a tarot reader with over 30 years experience, but today I'm doing in this video my astrology report for the full moon that's taking place on the 14th of June, and it's an intuitive interpretation of what I feel is happening in the astrology with the planets and how it's affecting us down here on planet Earth. Also, I would just like to say that I do incorporate some other unknown entities, should we say, as in some other asteroids and things like that, rather than just sticking to the known, the tried and tested planets, because I think that behind the scenes there is a lot taking place at this time that we are not quite so aware of, but they are having a big effect on our lives in general and our psyche as well. So if I mention some names that you don't recognize, that's because they are more distant planets working through a more 5D frequency. So I'm going to start the reading as usual with my Moonology cards, and the first card that I'm going to show you here is this super moon energy, because this Sagittarius is a super full moon. So the emotions are running high. The moon is closest to us at this time. And of course the moon rules the emotions, rules the water, rules the tides. And we have the full moon in Sagittarius, which is literally telling us to look at the bigger picture at this time as well, which is what Sagittarian energy is all about. It's about going beyond what we know, expanding our wisdom, our understanding, our knowledge of subjects, so that we can push ourselves further beyond where we have been. And then we have full moon energy itself, which is saying surrender to the divine. Full moon is all about culmination, something coming to a completion, an ending in our lives. And we also have nothing is set in stone, because this is a mutable moon, so it means that everything is still in flux, everything is still yet to be decided or stabilized or fixed energy, because the Sagittarius and the Gemini signs are both mutable energy, and that's where the sun is at this time as well. So I'm going to pull a Spirit Oracle Animal card for us to see which energy we are being supported by at this time from the Animal Spiritual Oracle deck. All the cards will be in the description box down below for you to check out. And also for anybody who's interested in their astrology, there will be a link in the description box as well to a free astrological chart. And I also want to say as well that this is part 2 of my full moon astrology, or not astrology but my full moon. I do the tarot as well, and I did the tarot part of this yesterday, so that is already up and out for anybody who's wanting to go and take a look at that energy and what the tarot is telling us at this time. So this is the second part, the astrology part. So are we going to get a card, please, for this super full moon in Sagittarius? Super full moon in Sagittarius. What is the best energy for us to work with at this time? of this super full moon in Sagittarius. Doesn't look like it wants to give us a card, which is a shame. Card for this Sagittarius full moon. There we go. Oh, we have Owl Spirit, which is saying you see clearly now. Owl is an interesting bird. Number 43. Athene's bird, the goddess of logic, justice and wisdom, who actually should I say, does appear in this astrology reading as well, so it's quite fitting. Although I haven't written anything about the owl, I almost did. I almost wrote something about the owl, because the owl was the kind of wisdom side of Athene. She was very logical and very like cerebral, intellectual, and the owl kind of gave her wisdom and insight. So the owl was always known as Athene's bird, so that's quite interesting. So the owl spirit is saying that it arrives to remind you that the wisdom within you is informed by your keen senses and the wisdom within the consciousness we all share. Even in the darkest nights, the owl sees clearly and is guided by every sense it has, including the first sense of intuition. Right now, your sensitivities are turbocharged. That's the super full moon for you. And you are receiving messages from all directions. Our spirit reminds you to be wise and pay attention to what's between the lines, what is invisible to the naked eye, what cannot be heard with the ears, and what others may not be able to perceive. With all your senses aroused, you have much knowledge available to you. Clarity will come to you. Sit with all that you are sensing, allowing your intuition to guide you in understanding the whole and not just the parts. It is a very Sagittarius energy actually, because Sagittarius is very much about the whole of everything. Let your wisdom arise and be your guide as you trust the accuracy of all your senses. Intuition is real and can provide the clarity you need to understand your situation right now. Your relationship, your finances, your job, whatever it is, you can see the truth clearly now. So it's a nice card to have, the Owl Spirit. And I have called this reading, Super Full Moon in Sagittarius, the wisdom in seeking truth. And so the divine masculine sun energy opposes the divine feminine moon energy during the time of a full moon. And this super full moon is occurring on the 14th of June 2022 in the sign of the seeker of truth, justice and freedom, the mutable fire energy of Sagittarius. It is taking place at 12:52 hours UK time, and it will be different in other parts of the world, so check out your own personal time zone so to see what time this is all happening for you. The moon will be at 23 degrees 25 minutes of the Archer, and she will be opposing the sun at the same degree of Gemini. Therefore, any point or planets at the 18 to 28 degrees of either or both of these signs, you will be feeling this intensely, potently charged supermoon, when emotions will be running high. The other two mutable signs of Virgo and Pisces at 90 degrees angles will also feel this strongly, especially if you have anything at those same degrees. So check out where this 23 degrees of Sagittarius falls for you with regard to your house placement, as this will be where you see it manifest in your life on a personal level, which is why if you go and check out your astrology chart, if you haven't already done that for yourself, it is worth doing, because the houses are where the energy shows itself. So wherever those 18 to 28 degrees fall in which sign and which house, the house placement will be where you will see it manifesting. And this is all around the themes of the 9th house. So these themes are to do with higher knowledge, philosophy, universities, science, religion, searching for truth, championing the underdog and the law, as well as pushing beyond the boundaries, shooting for the stars, keeping an open mind, belief in hope and mankind. Sagittarius also has a rebellious streak, as well as a strong desire to stay free from the limiting belief and opinions of others regarding who they are supposed to be. So Sagittarius doesn't like being put in a box. That's the one thing that Sagittarians really don't like, is being put in a box. So you may be feeling that at this time that you want to be more free to explore your own thoughts and opinions and viewpoints, rather than just taking on other people's. So as this is a supermoon, the full moon will be at its closest point to the earth, meaning it will be having a stronger effect on the tides than usual, as well as our own emotions individually and collectively. The sun in Gemini at this time is trine Saturn at 25 degrees 10 minutes of Aquarius, as well as being square with Neptune, 25 degrees 23 of Pisces. The moon is trine Mars at 15 degrees and 8 minutes in Aries, while also being sextile to Saturn, as well as square Neptune, thus creating a powerful T-square with Neptune and Pisces as the focal releasing point between the sun and the moon. So you've got the sun in Gemini, you've got the moon in Sagittarius, and in between those, at the 90-degree angle, creating that T-square, is Neptune. So that is the releasing point of this energy of this full moon at this time. And this energy could be giving us a sense of not knowing what the heck is actually going on. Neptune is about to be bringing a lot to the surface from the subconscious and conscious collective, as he is already starting to slow down. He is about to be the third of our outer generational history making planets. So the outer planets are the planets that make and change our history. And he's about to turn retrograde at the end of June as well. So Neptune's going to station on the 28th of June. But his energetic imprint on our psyche is already building, as he's getting ready to return back to the 7th of March 2022, when he entered his shadow period at 22 degrees 38. So he's going to retrograde all the way back to that 22 point, which isn't really that far, because he's already coming up for 25 degrees. And he's only got another 2 minutes to, I think it's 25 degrees 25 or something he's going to be stopping at, but he will actually be only moving back at 2 degrees, but those 2 degrees, because Neptune is such a huge planet, is going to take a long time for him to actually get there. It's such a slow moving outer planet, and it's a planet that governs all things metaphysical, the unknown, mysterious and esoteric. And so during the months of this retrograde, we will be experiencing a big shift in the narrative of the established media, as more revelations arise around anything to do with deception, fakery, fraud, mystery, living in a fantasy world, escapism, delusion, and self-destruction. All these themes will be being revisited up to early December. So that's how long it's going to take Neptune to get back to those 22 degrees. And so during this period of time, we are going to need to be extra discerning as to what we believe to be true here as well, because Neptune is very much to do with the illusionary, deceptive world of mystery and magic, but also of things that are fake and not real and made up, and the fantasy side of things, which is all well and good unless people are trying to force you or make you believe that these things are actually the reality when they're not. So that's where the discernment is going to really need to come into play at this time. This supermoon, this Neptunian Piscean energy, is also going to be highly intuitive, inspiring, and creative energy. With this being a full moon, and full moons always being connected with culminations, ending something, a project, something you've been working on for some time, this could also be a time to release and surrender to any worries, doubts, or fears around it, and trust the process for the bigger outcome. The Sun is in a very easy flowing harmonic trine with Saturn, who has been retrograde since the 4th of June, and Saturn is reassessing the past actions we've taken to get us to where we are now, and if we have learnt the lessons we need to learn in order to grow and progress, or do we need to revisit the same situations from when he entered his shadow at the end of February. The moon is also adding her own energetic imprint at this time, with a supportive, reassuring sextile, 60 degrees angle. As Saturn is also continuing to help us add some stability and build on the foundations we have laid from the past actions we have taken. Mars, our inner masculine warrior, having now reached 15 degrees and 8 minutes of Aries, is conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer, at 15 degrees 54 minutes or 16 degrees, and both of them are in a beautiful trine with this super full moon in Sagittarius. This trio of energies is making it easier for us to push beyond our personal limiting beliefs, out of our comfort zones, and to move away from the dogmatic, closed-minded opinions of ourselves and others. Mars is giving us the strength, courage, and dynamic energy we need in order to question, explore, and research all possibilities and discover the potential empowerment in giving ourselves permission to seek answers outside our own limiting thought patterns. This full moon is bringing in a sense of self-authority, and with Chiron being closely involved again and activated by this Mars connection, it is helping us to heal the trauma and wounds of the past, as well as making us aware of the need to steer away from the repeating patterns that keep us reviving them. As this is strong masculine energy we are dealing with, this is particularly aimed towards the idea of toxic masculinity, the patriarchal, ancestral, genetic bloodline, which are all very Aryan themes and are all in desperate need of healing on an energetic level, so we can move forward without any of that baggage. Mars is also the original ruler of Scorpio, which in its lower level frequency manifests itself as power, tyranny, and despotism. The sister of Mars in mythology, Eris, is at 24 degrees 54 or 25 degrees of Aries, and she's also attached to this full moon as she's trine which is a 120-degree angle, so that's easy flowing, like a triangle energy. And it's harmonious energy. So Eris, being the feisty, discordant, non-conformist female warrioress energy, is going to be bringing out that rebellious Sagittarius nature. Eris is the protester, the one who stands up for the rights of others, and also very much in the same vein as Sagittarius champions the underdog. Eris is in it for the fight for freedom, truth and justice, for everyone to be on a level playing field. Eris does not hold back. And trying this super full moon in Sagittarius, we are dealing with a lot of fiery, passionate emotions being released, particularly around what we believe when it comes to our belief system. As with Eris, also sextile the Sun in Gemini, we are being encouraged to question and use our curiosity and inquisitiveness to be more open about asking, where do our beliefs originate from? And is it time for us to upgrade them? This combination may also find us pushing beyond our boundaries, out of our comfort zones, so we can honour our own truth. We may realise we need to investigate something further, to seek a deeper level of understanding, which we can then carry forward to take us or elevate us, or in some cases catapult us in a completely new, as of yet untravelled path. The 9th house also governs long journeys. And of course, every journey begins with that first step. So as Eris is still opposing Haumea, the creation, fertility, regeneration Hawaiian goddess, who is herself at 28 degrees 1 minute retrograde at the end of Libra. She almost left Libra a few months ago, but she just at that point of leaving turned retrograde, so she's back into Libra now. And at this time she's in a very tight square with Pluto, who is at 28 degrees 8 minutes, also retrograde in Capricorn. And he's creating the same ongoing T-square, which is again one of those happening in the background energies which I was talking about earlier, with Pluto being the focal release of this long-lasting transformational rebirthing of the new earth that is coming into being as the old one crumbles around us. What's really interesting here is both Libra and Capricorn are creating exact squares at both ends of the signs, as we also have Pholus at 6 degrees 16 minutes of Capricorn, and he's making a square with Makemake at 6 degrees 49 minutes of Libra. And even stranger still is the fact that all four of them, so that's Pholus, Makemake, Pluto and Haumea, who are all connecting together, they are all four of them retrograde at this time as well. So that's very interesting in itself. All of them are in retrograde motion, so they're all going deeper into something. They're all taking another look at what has already been. So not only that though, as when we look at the early degrees of Aries, we find Jupiter at 5 degrees 41 minutes. The ruler of this super full moon is opposing Makemake, the creation god of Easter Island, who represents on the 5D level the cosmic order and divine law of all nature, in the sign that denotes the need for balance and equality in all things. It is believed by the natives of Easter Island, the Rapa Nui, I think they were called, that Makemake was the creator of the human race. They see him as the fertility god, the creation god. And another interesting thing about both Haumea and Makemake, for those who don't know much about them, is that Makemake has a very feminine quality to it, and Haumea, who is the volcanic, fiery Hawaiian goddess, has a very masculine energy to her. So that's quite an interesting, the fact that they're both either ends of Libra at this time as well is also very interesting, because Libra also talks about the masculine and the feminine and the balance and equality of those energies, which is kind of what's happening on the larger scale at this time. Jupiter still remains in a close conjunction with Salacia, which I've spoken about before. She's at 8 degrees 31 minutes, and he's magnifying and expanding on the energy of the wife of Neptune. Salacia is the wife of Neptune. And by doing this, Jupiter is increasing Salacia's ability to bring what has been buried in the deepest, darkest depths of the collective emotions, because previous to marriage to Neptune, she stayed on the bottom of the ocean, in the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean, mostly because she was hiding from Neptune at that time. But after they got married, she became the queen or the goddess of the light on the water, and so she was given domain over the surface of the water, that sparkling light that you see playing off the water when the sun hits it. And so so what has been buried in the deepest, darkest depths of the collective emotions is coming up into the surface and into the sunlight, where Makemake is showing us we create whatever we are attracting on an energetic, conscious level. Whether we are aware of this on a conscious level or not. Because Makemake is the cosmic order and divine law, and basically he's talking, or he is, in many ways, the law of attraction, in the sense of what we focus our attention on, whether we focus on the depth and the darkness, or whether we focus on the light and the light and the brightness, and bringing things into our conscious awareness. And this is making yet another behind the scenes, again not so apparent T-square, which is being viewed through the lens of Pholos. So Pholos this time is the tipping point here. We've got Jupiter and Neptune, who are conjunct in Aries, opposing Makemake in Libra, and they are both square at this time with Pholos, who is in Capricorn. He is the tipping point of this T-square. I think he's about 6 degrees at this time. But he's the tipping point of this T-square, so he is also the lens. Pholos is about the spreading of things very quickly, particularly when it comes to disease and illness. And it is particularly, it particularly seems to relate to man-made infections and viruses, such as AIDS and Ebola. In the early degrees, or diseases that have been messed about with and become more, what's the word I'm looking for here, become more virulent or virulent, whichever way you prefer to say it. In the early degrees of Capricorn, square Jupiter, Pholos is focusing our attention on the real virus and illness of those at the top of the pyramid, who have been messing around with the forces of nature for their own selfish gain, causing great amounts of unnecessary pain and suffering to those they believe are beneath them. But all of this is what's being brought up to the surface as well. It's no longer being allowed to be hidden in the depths, it's coming up. So both Salacia and Jupiter are also square with the raw, creative, untamed, fierce, unsubmissive, uncompromising life force energy that is Black Moon Lilith at 6 degrees 44 of Cancer. the sign of the mother, the matriarchy, the home, safety, the universal womb, kindness and memories. Except here we are dealing with the dark mother and all her rage and fury over all the children of the world that have been born, then abused and exploited and continue to be so, while the truth of their ongoing suffering is repressed. Black Moon Lilith, and when I say the children of the world, I'm literally talking about all the human race, because we are all children of the world in that sense. Even when we become adults, we're still children to the earth herself. And Black Moon Lilith is again, words, she is the kind of can't think of the word's gone out of my head, which is really annoying. She's like, I keep getting the word epitome, but she's not the epitome as such. She's kind of the visualization in a way, I suppose. But she's the dark rage of Mother Earth. She's the storms and the destruction, and the, also probably best likened to Kali, who actually came out in the tarot reading that I did yesterday as well, which was really interesting. So that is also, and Black Moon Lilith is very similar to the Pluto energy too. Black Moon Lilith is a point of apogee, which means that when the moon is at her furthest away from our Earth, the dark and unseen side of the moon is the apogee. It's the furthest away point of the moon, and it's a side that we never get to see of the moon. So when the moon is furthest away, that is the point of Black Moon Lilith. And at the time of this super full moon, she is at her perigee. That is, the super full moon herself is at perigee, because she is at the closest point to our Earth. So we've got like the opposites here, or a juxtaposition going on here. And when the moon is closest point to her Earth, she is highly illuminated by the sun. Black Moon Lilith is in direct opposition. So again, it's like that that difference, that dark and light, the day and night, the opposites of things, which is kind of being brought into our awareness at this time. And she is in direct opposition with Pholos as well, at 6 degrees. Pholos at 6 degrees in Cancer, in Capricorn, is directly opposing Black Moon Lilith at this time. So those are quite raw, dark energies that we're dealing with here. I'm not quite sure if I've said what Pholos represents. Oh yeah, the disease and illness. Pholos was a centaur who accidentally died when he got stabbed by an arrow that had been dipped in the blood of Medusa, which is also very interesting because she also appears in this reading as well. So the Gorgon, snake-headed Medusa, whose blood was venomous and could kill anything. Pholos accidentally died, and there is a story behind that as well, but I haven't gone into that here. So if you think about these two energies together, they are quite dark. Yeah, they're quite dark and toxic, poisonous kind of energies. And this is creating yet another behind the scenes T-square with Pholos and Black Moon Lilith being in opposition, and then we have both Jupiter and Celestia in the sign of self-empowerment Aries as the focal point of release there as well. So there's quite a lot of T-squares going on behind the scenes at this time. The astrology seems to be quite easygoing if you're just looking at the everyday planets. But when you look further behind the scenes, you see that there's things that are going on that are kind of like representing what is taking place on this planet right now at this time, and what we've been through in the last 2 years as well. It's all connected in with these planets. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, I do talk about these energies in those videos as well. If you haven't, then you might want to go back and take a listen at some of them from this year, because it's from this year that I've really kind of picked up on this energy and become more interested in it and more kind of tuned into it, and seeing the connection of what is happening now and what we've been through and why we've been through that, and how it all kind of connects with what's going on. So again, this T-square, and of course Jupiter and Celestia being the release point are also expanding on this as well. But again, Jupiter next to Celestia is bringing it all up to the surface. So again, it's all about bringing all of this darkness into the light, is really what this is about, to stop it from being allowed to fester, and to kind of bring it into the light for scrutiny and awareness. So this is all part of the continuing theme of the Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse, of purging the deeply embedded toxic out of all of our systems, particularly around governments and patriarchal institutions. Pholos in Capricorn is all about the toxic poison that is the corruption of our established system. And this is being highlighted once more as the Sun is making a strong quincunx or inconjunct to the 25 degrees of Scorpio, where this Scorpio full lunar eclipse took place recently as well, which is giving us that kind of, again, a quincunx is that uncomfortable feeling. It makes us feel on edge. It's an experience like there's something that isn't fitting right. It doesn't feel right. It feels like wearing something that may be too tight, or just, it's just like an awareness. It's like we know that there's something, but we don't know exactly what it is that why we're feeling that way, if you like. And with this being kind of behind the scenes T-squares as well, it's kind of even more so, because we can't quite put our fingers on it. We can't quite say, yes, this is definitely what's making me feel like this, but there's a lot of reasons for it. So talking of things not feeling right and on edge, we still have the fixed star Algol playing its part in this super full moon, as although it's not directly linked, the decapitated head of Medusa at 26 degrees 10 minutes of Taurus is sextile with Neptune and square with a retrograde Saturn, who is himself still square both of the collective's karmic north and south nodes, in yet another behind the scenes T-square. This is not easy energy, as Algol is known as having the worst reputation of all stars in our galaxy, often called the demon star or evil one. He's playing a major role over the coming weeks and months. When this star is prominent, as it is at the present time, we can expect to hear of some of the worst crimes imaginable, often linked to those in high positions of power with a lot to lose, including their emotional stability and sanity. During his retrograde T-square with the karmic nodes of fate, Saturn, the karmic lord of actions and consequences, is sitting in judgment, like he is weighing and holding our past and future in the balance. So we've got the North Node and the South Node who are always opposite each other. They always move in reverse, always retrograde, and they're always opposing each other. And at this time we have Saturn in Aquarius, and he's square both the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio. And so he's sitting there, and it does feel, and it's kind of like interesting, because yesterday when I did the tarot reading, one of the cards that I got overall energy for from my angel script cards was Metatron. And Metatron always reminds me of the Saturn energy. But Metatron is all about judgment and karmic events and consequences of our actions, which is very Saturn energy as well. So that's why I feel as though it's that kind of judgment of our past and our future, kind of saying, like, you know, he's weighing and holding our past and future in that balance. And he's also saying, you know, that we're going to be given over the coming months the opportunity to revisit past situations, again around the Saturn themes, to do with work, what we choose to commit ourselves to, what limitations do we put on ourselves or allow ourselves to put on us, or allow others to put on us. How disciplined are we in reaching our goals? What is success? How do we define success individually as well as collectively? And I also feel this retrograde could have us taking a deeper look at what is slavery and how do we define it. Saturn wants to remind us we are all responsible for our own future destiny. So yeah, with the North Node and the South Node being the past energy, what we need to let go of. But I think I'll probably talk about this here. So in the sign of Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, in between the North Node, our future in Taurus, and where we are being offered once more the Garden of Eden and all the delights we deserve, or the South Node, our past in Scorpio, which is power for the sake of power and dictators that govern our every action, Saturn is challenging us to grow up. He's giving us the choice to choose our freedoms mentally, emotionally and spiritually, to unshackle our chains to any governance that no longer resonates with who we are becoming. The choice to decide is ours, whether we bind ourselves to the past or release ourselves into the future. We are collectively going to create. Not some corporate hierarchy that considers us less than. Remember, Aquarius in its lower frequency is the hive mind, where we all become small cogs in a very big beast system designed to satisfy those that only seek to control and subjugate. So Saturn is basically saying, here's your choice. You know, you can stay in that past energy, that Scorpio past, where the South Node is at this time, or you can move into the future with the Taurus energy that is going to provide what we need. But at this time, there's also this kind of, there is this, it feels like restriction being put on all of that as well. And this is going to be an ongoing T-square as well. This isn't something that's going to finish very quickly, because Saturn in retrograde is actually moving back towards both the South and the North Node as well. So they will become exact in the next month or so. So, which kind of feels like a kind of breaking point somehow, like breaking the chains, breaking ourselves, freeing ourselves, because he is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is about the collective, it is about the future. It's to do with communities as well. So interjecting herself into this scenario, at the time of this super full moon and somewhat softening the harsh reality is Venus at 19 degrees 52 minutes or 20 degrees of Taurus. She's also square Saturn, conjunct the North Node, so therefore opposing the South. Venus is the ruler of the North Node during the time it remains there. And at this full moon in Sagittarius, Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is guiding us homeward. Taurus is the realm of sensation and sensuality. It governs the physical bodily world of the five senses, what we see, hear, taste, smell and touch. Venus in Taurus, conjunct the North Node, is reminding us that the real world of nature is where we need to be, not in some very Aquarian idea of a meta-universe that is just yet another trap for the collective's mind, emotions, soul and psyche to get lost in. Venus is saying forget the unrealistic and return to what is real, as we have yet to fully understand the depth of who we are. It is time to stop looking outside for the answers. Instead, go within to find our own value and beauty of the creative miracle that is the human body we inhabit. And another energy we need to be aware of is that of the Great Awakener, the creator of chaos, the mover and shaker, Uranus, at 17 degrees minus 1 minute of Taurus, is in a semi-square with the axis Mundi. The semi-square is an angle of 45 degrees, so that's half of the square, and it's a very discordant energy, or it's got a discordant nature to it. The semi-square, it's not often used, but at this time it's quite important, because Uranus and the axis Mundi being in semi-square is going to have an effect on the world stage, because that's basically what the axis Mundi is. And so it's like, if you think of a musical note, it's like a musical note that's out of tune in the rest of the symphony or something. It's like all of a sudden there's this kind of out of tune bum note that kind of like doesn't fit in. That's the kind of semi-square energy. It's also an energy that contains inflexibility. When we are dealing with this aspect, we need to ourselves become more flexible in order to change and adapt to the circumstances around us. With Uranus, this could mean anything at all, as Uranus, it always brings us the unexpected, which in Taurus will most likely be around the themes of love, romance, finances, and anything to do with the resources of the earth herself, especially as Venus is also just coming off of a conjunction with Uranus that began on the 6th of June and became exact on the 12th, just 2 days before the super full moon. This conjunction ends on the 17th of June when Venus reaches 23 degrees, and it will affect anyone with anything between the 10 to 23 degree area of all of the fixed signs: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio and Aquarius. So check out which house placement this falls in for you, as this is the area where the biggest changes are likely to occur. And again, for the Taurus, Aquarius and Scorpio energies, with that Saturn T-square with the North nodes as well, those same kind of degrees are also going to be being affected at this time. So it's like a double whammy here as well. In fact, there's a triple whammy here, because Uranus at 17 degrees is now at the furthest point it has been in 84 years. And the last time he reached this point was back in 1938, at the time when the Third Reich invaded Austria, making them a part of the German Reich. On June the 13th to the 18th, German police officials, acting in the capacity of criminal officers, arrested around 9,000 what they called asocials and convicted criminals in what was known as Operations Workshy. where they sent these people to what are now called concentration camps. At the time, Uranus was at 15 degrees 56 minutes, or 16 degrees, just 1 degree away from where he is now. And what's also interesting here is when it comes to astrological cycles, is the Sun being at the same place in Gemini and it now being a full moon, when in 1938 that same moon occurred on the 13th of June at 21 degrees 19 minutes of Sagittarius. So when I say the same moon, I'm basically saying the Sagittarius full moon occurred on the 13th of June. So that was yesterday in 1938. And it was only 2 degrees away from this full moon energy as well, at 21 degrees. This full moon being at 23. So what's even more significant here about all of this is in 1938 Pluto was at 28 degrees 37 minutes of Cancer, and today Pluto is opposing that position at 28 degrees 8 minutes in Capricorn. And these degrees in themselves are very important because it also happens to be more or less the astrological halfway point between the Pluto return. That 28 degrees 37 minutes of Cancer was the halfway point of the return for America, the Pluto return for America, which we've recently had, but we are going to have another one quite soon as well, because Pluto is returning to that same 27-33 degree point of Capricorn, and he will in fact go back over that again because he's going to retrograde back to 26 degrees and 10 minutes of Capricorn, and he will station at that point, which interestingly is also going to be directly trine Algol, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to bring it up earlier as well, in the fact that it's going to be playing a big part in our life over the next coming months. We also have Neptune stationing round about the same point as well. I think it's about 25 degrees 10 minutes or something that Neptune is going to be, but don't quote me on that, but it's round about the same degree sextile for Neptune and Algol. So again, bringing that energy of the Medusa, the toxic, the poison, the venomous snake type energy back into, quite powerfully in fact, into our psyche. So so I thought I would talk about that because I thought that was just quite interesting, the fact that there's so much significance here, and also the fact that the war drums are being played at this time as well. And also there's echoes of this literally being played out, where the ruling untouchables are turning against those who don't agree with their narrative and agenda. So it's almost like we are, on some level, having an echo of that energy happening at the same time. So due to his retrograde, Mercury at 0 degrees 39 minutes of Gemini is still square to Saturn and trine with Pluto. Poor Mercury is having to deal with both of the malefics at once, and while both are in retrograde, which will be having a powerful effect on our communications or possible lack of them, as this is the kind of energy where we may prefer to keep our thoughts and words to ourselves, particularly if we feel we are being asked to explain something that may be difficult for us to put into words. We may in fact be feeling inclined to censor ourselves rather than say something we may regret at some time in the future, or alternatively we may need to stop holding back our voice and say what needs to be said, knowing there will be consequences to be met with, but the long-term effect of not doing so could also bring powerful regrets. Collectively, of course, the crackdown on free speech will continue, as I've mentioned before, particularly the banning and removal of familiar words that hold special meanings emotionally will become targets to try and be enforced. Fortunately, Mercury will be out of his shadow on the 18th of June and will no longer be connecting to Saturn. So the difficult, harsher, more fixed, determined and stubborn phase we may have bumped up against while Mercury was in Taurus will be easing off completely. However, Mercury remains trine with Pluto, and they are working together to end a certain mindset for a little while longer, because they're going to remain trine to each other. Even though Pluto, being a malefic, is an energy that is quite, I want to say, destructive or abrupt on some level. Bringing things to an end, bringing things to a close. And so after the 18th of June, Mercury is back in his home sign. He is empowered. Well, he's already back in his own sign, but after the 18th of June, he is out of shadow and back in his home sign. He is empowered and ready to give the green light on anything that has been put on hold. But be careful and take another look before rushing in, as there is always a reason for hold-ups from the universe, no matter how frustrating it may be. Something better could be on its way. And another thing about Mercury as well is he can have that trickster energy as well. So it's quite easy when Mercury is in shadow or retrograde to be fooled by things that seem more than they actually are. So the last combination of energies I want to mention is the super full moon being conjunct the galactic center at 27 degrees 10 minutes of Sagittarius. The galactic center is the point that connects our solar system to the rest of the universe. It is here the 5D energies enter into our 3D realm, and every time a planet or other kind of celestial body crosses over this point, it is receiving an upgrade through the downloads from this 5D frequency. At the same time that the super full moon is connecting with the galactic center is conjunct almost exact with the asteroid Medusa at 27 degrees 39 retrograde. So this asteroid at the time of the new moon in Gemini on the 30th of May was at 1 degree 14 minutes Capricorn, making some very significant connections to both Pholus and Jupiter. Medusa was the only immortal of three sisters who became the snake-headed Gorgon. She was once a beautiful woman who, through no fault of her own, was turned into a hideous, venomous creature with the ability to kill through the power of her stare by the goddess Athene. After she, Medusa, had been raped by Poseidon, Neptune, in the temple she was dedicated to serve, which was Athene's own temple. The goddess Athene was born from the head of Zeus, Jupiter. She was therefore detached from the world of emotions, desires, sexuality or lust, which made her perfect for all things that needed a logical and just outcome. The head ruling the heart. This action, however, was a violation of her personal sanctity, an act of transgression and aggression that made it feel very personal for her indeed. However, what Athene did by taking her feelings out on the victim instead of the perpetrator was lay all the blame squarely on Medusa, a young immortal girl who really couldn't say no to a god. Or maybe she did, and he raped her anyway, which for me is the crux of this story. There are many out there in the real world who believe they are gods above the likes of mere mortals, who they can use, abuse, experiment on and toss away without a second thought about the emotional repercussions. By turning the victim into a snake-writhing, statue-creating Gorgon, Athene gave her more power than she had ever had as a mere mortal. And she became one of the most feared creatures ever created. Even today, the star Algol, the Medusa's head, is known as the most malevolent of all stars. But Athene did much more than that. She also took away her humanity, her ability to even be around others without them all dying from the direct contact with her eyes, which would instantly turn everyone to stone. The eyes, of course, being the mirror of the soul. So Medusa was forced to live in isolation, her life completely changed forever, being punished for a crime she had no control over, while Poseidon, Neptune, remained blameless and free to go about his destructive ways. This is yet another energy that is creating a backdrop in our lives. Conjunct the super full moon, opposing the sun, and conjunct the galactic centre and trine Eris, it feels like the victim, which metaphorically is the collective, are seeking justice through the wisdom of knowing the truth, no longer willing to run, hide, or be fearful of what we may discover. So the Sabian symbol for the 23 degrees of Sagittarius is a group of immigrants fulfilling the requirements for entering a new country. And so this symbol shows finding a new way of life, new country or nationality or new place to live and raise a family. It shows the possibility and hope for better things and a new way of life. Whether you are an immigrant, in quotation marks, or someone looking to move into new territory, you need to be prepared to venture out into new adventures for the promise that's offered. Once you've fulfilled the requirements, again, quotation marks, you can move into this brand new life and reap the rewards. There may need to be adjustments about the way one communicates one's thoughts and ideas. Be receptive to this new way of life and you'll learn much. And so the positive side of this is reorientation of self, learning new languages or customs, passing tests or not, asylum, immigration, the Statue of Liberty, papers, qualifications, refugees, laws and borders. And the more negative side of this energy is inflexible traditions, the pursuit of the unknown, rigid border controls, custom restrictions, being rejected and sent back, not filling out the paperwork, and lack of credentials. So that is where I'm going to leave this particular reading for this full moon in Sagittarius. I am going to pull a couple of extra cards. One from the Ask and It Will Be Given deck, which I haven't used for a long time, so I thought it was about time I had another delve into them to see what they want to say to us at the time of this Sagittarius full moon. Oh, let's see, what do we have? We have, I am attracting its vibrational essence. And so you can allow it or not, but the basis of your world is well-being. The law of attraction says that which is like unto itself is drawn. And so the essence of whatever you give your attention to is unfolding in your experience. Therefore, there is nothing that you cannot be, do, or have. This is the law. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. The law of attraction. Again, where you put your focus of attention will make all the difference to the outcome. So lastly, I'm going to pull a Keepers of the Lights card. I'm actually going to pull that again because I wasn't ready for that. So let's see. Full moon in Sagittarius. full moon energy in Sagittarius. We have Isis, magic manifesting. Let's see where she is. Isis, Isis, Isis. Page 52. Okay. I'll actually take them off and read this, I think. Not that I'll be able to see anything, but hey. So, Isis, magic manifesting. Your dreams, visions and goals are becoming reality. Stay focused. Isis is a strong, smart and focused Egyptian winged goddess. According to legend, she was able to move from darkness to light and between the underworld, heaven and earth. For that reason, whenever she comes to us, she will help us move from the hell of our own fear into the heaven of our own love. She was also able to revive her lover Osiris from the dead, and this powerful allegorical story shows how she can help us revive an aspect of our life or a dream that we may have killed off with fear or lack of self-belief. With her magical abilities, Isis will guide us to bring our dreams into reality. So, it's all very positive, and it sounds like our future is in the hands of ourselves and our own creative thoughts and feelings. And that's where I'm going to finish this astrological reading and say thank you very much to all of you for coming over and viewing my video. Please, if you've got anything from it, if you've enjoyed it, if you've learned anything, could you give it a thumbs up for me, because it really does make a difference to my channel. Apparently my channel cannot be found. If you actually type it into YouTube, it doesn't come up, so I'm not quite sure why that is. Again, I was talking about this yesterday in my video I put out and saying that I'm going to have to look into it and see what's going on there. So also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, could you please also do that as well? I'm almost at 160 subscribers now. I haven't had many subscribers, again, because my videos I don't think are actually getting out there. The channel itself isn't actually getting out there, and I don't really get any notifications or anything either. I've been told by a friend that I may have to nix this channel and start again, but I really don't want to if I can help it. I've put quite a lot of work into this channel and I would really like to keep it going rather than have to start all over again. So, but if I do, then I will obviously put out a video to let people know that that's what I will be planning on doing. So until then, could you please subscribe to my channel? Also, if you do subscribe, you'll get that little bell that you can hit and it will tell you as and when my videos are coming out. At the moment, I'm still focusing very much on the full moon, new moon, tarot and astrology readings rather than anything else. And also, what was I going to say? Comment as well and share my videos, please, also, because that will really help to expand my channel as well, because again, this platform doesn't pick up the content. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm going to end it there and say thank you again very much. Please enjoy the energy of this Sagittarius full moon, which will take us through until the new moon in Cancer in 2 weeks' time, and I will be back then. Hopefully I will see you again at that time. Until then, please take really good care of yourselves and anyone else around you.